Good afternoon, everyone. Could you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. My name is Julie Hoy. I'm the mayor of Salem, Oregon. I would like to ask our elected officials, I'll call you by name, and if you would please stand, give a hand wave, that would be great. Senator Deb Patterson is here. Representative Ed Deal. Representative Kevin Mannix. Representative Tom Anderson. We have Mayor Kathy Clark of Kaiser. Brian Asher, Mayor of Aurora. Frank Lonergan, Woodburn's Mayor. Jim Trett, Detroit Mayor. And if you are an elected official that I did not name, a city councilor, Kevin Cameron, Marion County Commissioner, thank you. If you're a city councilor or serving in any capacity in that way, please raise your hand or give a wave to your folks. Thank you. Okay. I've been asked to tell you to stick around after the town hall. You'll have, there'll be a little bit of an announcement then. I'd first like to introduce Congresswoman Andrea Salinas. Thank you. Congresswoman Andrea Salinas is the daughter of an immigrant and a dedicated public servant working for the people of Oregon's 6th District. After becoming the first person in her family to graduate from college, Andrea began her life of public service working for Senator Harry Reid and Congressman Pete Stark, and later fell in love with the Willamette Valley as a district aide for Congresswoman Darlene Hooley. Andrea fought to protect labor unions, environmental rights, and reproductive freedoms as an advocate before being appointed to the Oregon legislature in 2017. She served as House Majority Whip and chair of the Healthcare Committee, where she worked tirelessly to bring down the cost of prescription drugs and expand access to care. In 2022, Andrea became one of the first Latinas elected to Congress from Oregon. She has prioritized mental health awareness and addiction treatment, leveling the playing field for our growers and rural communities, and securing millions of dollars for important local projects, including funding that is already being used to expand the Salem Airport, build a new transit center in South Salem, and improve our roads and highways here in Marion County. And during one of the restored land claims and compensation rights for the Grand Ronde tribe, proof that she will work with anyone to get things done for Oregonians. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Senator Jeff Merkley. Jeff has been called the Roots and Boots Senator because of his deep Oregon roots and his boots on the ground, traveling to meet with Oregonians in every corner of the state. Born in southern Oregon timber town of Myrtle Creek, Jeff spent his early years in Douglas County, where his father worked as a millwright. He learned the ropes of public policy as an intern for Oregon Senator Mark Hatfield, and later worked on national security issues for the Secretary of Defense. But it's Jeff's experience leading housing nonprofits here in Oregon, including a chapter of Habitat for Humanity, that kickstarted his call to public service. Jeff was elected to Oregon House in 1998 and became House Speaker in 2007. 2 years later, he was sworn in to the same U.S. Senate seat once held by Hatfield. In the Senate, yes. In the Senate, he's focused on building the 4 foundations for the success of working families: good health care, quality education, decent, affordable housing, and good-paying jobs. This year, Jeff took over the top Democratic spot on the Senate Budget Committee, where he'll fight for working people and for tax fairness for America's families. Jeff is the only member of the Oregon delegation serving on the powerful Appropriations Committee, where he brings an Oregon perspective to important federal funding decisions. That includes securing about 475 community-initiated projects across Oregon over the past 3 years that bridge the rural-urban divide, including funding he secured in partnership with Congresswoman Salinas for safety improvements along the McKay, Juergen, and Ellen Road Safety Corridor in rural Marion County, and funding to support the creation of the South Salem Transit Center. Please welcome Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley and Congresswoman Andrea Salinas.
Oh, you can read that.
You're going to need that. Can you read that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out to a town hall. At any time, our republic thrives only with citizens engaged, and you are engaged at a very important time in our history. Thank you for being here. At the start of the town hall, Andrea and I wanted to put a spotlight on an organization that's done important work in the community, and in this case, an important organization that's done important work in adjoining state, and that is our Salem Fire Department, and David Gerboth and his team are the folks we're going to put the light on. Come on over. I'm going to let the expert tell you about all they've been up to fighting here and helping out with our friends to the south across the border. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Well, good afternoon. I am David Gerboth. I am deeply honored to serve as your 43rd Fire Chief and to accept this recognition from Senator Merkley today on behalf of the Salem Fire Department. Since 1857, even before Oregon achieved statehood, the members of the Salem Fire Department have proudly protected this community in our state capital. Recently, we witnessed our Salem firefighters deployed to Southern California in response to one of the most destructive disasters in United States history. During their first shift at the Palisades fire, the crew from Salem Fire Department Engine 15 located and extinguished an attic fire, saving a residence. Because of their swift actions, a family has a home to return to. I am particularly pleased that two of those firefighters, Engineer Mike Latch and Engineer Cody Welling, are with us here today. Their actions were not only exemplary, but emblematic of the expertise and dedication to service demonstrated daily by every member of the Salem Fire Department. It's an incredible privilege for each of us to serve this community. I want to thank Senator Merkley, our elected officials, senior leadership, and every member of this community for the incredible support of the Salem Fire Department. Because of you, we are able to serve this city to the best of our abilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you all. Here, I'll step in here. Thank you so much. So just as a way of saying how much we appreciate the work all of you have done and your colleagues who aren't here with us today, and just to say super great job. It's so important, it's so meaningful. There's a flag to use in appropriate fashion that's been flown over the U.S. Capitol. Thank you so much. Well, so now we're going to jump into the regular part of our gathering. Senator Wyden and I are about the only two senators that still hold town halls. The reason town halls have disappeared they've disappeared across the country is we now have two media bubbles that project very different sets of facts, and there's a lot of space between the parties where a lot of animosity sometimes. And we feel like we want to save the Oregon way. And what that means is somebody's speaking and you absolutely disagree with them. In fact, they infuriate you. It's your responsibility to still be respectful and let them have their say. Doesn't matter if they're from the Democratic Party, Republican Party, Independents, Greens, Constitution, Libertarian, or any independent ideas. Let's be respectful and let people have their say, and that will enable us to continue having these types of exchanges of ideas that I think are so important in a democracy. So the mayor has this basket that she's going to mix up really well so everybody has a chance to ask a question. We're going to go very quickly. We're going to call 3 numbers at a time. Just wave your hands. Nobody waves their hand because the tickets are in somebody's pocket. We'll call a number 3, and we'll just jump into the thoughts you have. We're not giving you a lot of opening remarks because we're here to hear from you. So we'll get started. I'm just reading the last 3 numbers on the right. So in this case, it's 238, 286, and 376, and if you can start by giving the number, and then your name, and then your comment.
Hi, my name is Eric Gessner. I'm building inspector for Portland, and right now I'm number 238, and I'm asking you, what can we do about Elon Musk taking over the Treasury Department computers? And honestly, Jeff, honestly, this is an all-hands-on-deck situation. Every single governor in this country should be alarmed. Every single senator should be alarmed. And why aren't they doing anything? And I guess, what are you going to do? Thank you.
You know, I just got a request before I came in here to be at a press conference in D.C. tomorrow to address this very issue. And I can't be there because I'm here with you by the time I fly back. But this has caught all of our attention. Somebody who is neither elected nor even employed has a team of minions going in and taking over the Office of Personnel Management and then the system of payments. And this is on top of the firing of 18 inspector generals who keep agencies honest, and on top of a huge number of FBI agents being walked off their jobs, that is taken out of their offices, who have had the responsibility of making sure the executive branch obeys the law. My concern is that if you strip the IGs, if you proceed to remove the FBI officers who are experts, and if you proceed to have a best buddy of the president take over the payment system, we are on the march to a sweeping authoritarian takeover completely out of sync with the vision of government by and for the people, and we have to stop it. So the press conference being held tomorrow that I won't be at, because I am here with you all, Is Congress reacting and saying this is absolutely unacceptable? What measures and what powers we have, we don't know yet, because essentially we've never faced this situation before. The law about what can be done by the president is a little fuzzy. There's going to be court challenges, and we're going to apply pressure from the House and the Senate. Do you want to add anything onto that?
Just real quick, there are 3 areas where I know my House leadership is focusing on for everything that we are seeing right now that is unconstitutional and or illegal. We are trying to bring forward any kind of legislation that can fight back. But we know that's going to be very hard when Republicans control both the Senate and the House, as well as the White House. The second piece is litigation. We do not have standing to bring lawsuits against this administration. The Speaker of the House does, but he is the same party as the President. So that will also be difficult, but we are leaning on our state attorneys general for that. The third piece is communicate, communicate, communicate. And I keep asking folks at every level, if you see something that is not working, the 2 questions I keep asking, is it bringing down prices for everyday Americans? Is it making our communities safer? This is not. Taking over the US Treasury is not. In fact, I'm really worried. We're about to enter IRS tax filing season. What is this guy who knows nothing about these systems doing in there with people's tax information? This is scary stuff. So let's figure out, let's call on Jeff Bezos. He should have his salary frozen right now. We're freezing all these government agencies. Call on the Washington Post, call on all of these different outlets to make sure that our voices are being heard and that the truth is getting out. So that is how I'd like to participate, for you all to participate, but I also keep saying, make sure it's factual first. Make sure you have the facts.
286 and 376, either one. Way back in here, and again, your number first, please.
Yes, it's 376. I'm Desiree Jackson, and I'm here on behalf of the Marion Polk Food Share today. And I wanted to thank both of you for your support of our community-initiated project and your $2 million, write-in for your budget. Given the current administration, how secure do you think those funds are, and what can we as a community do to improve our chances of receiving all of those funds?
Actually, our food banks and our food shares are one of the examples I keep giving in terms of the Office of Management budget freeze that we saw on agencies Monday night. We started pushing back. This was one that I used because I know that people in our community at the end of the month, you may be struggling with whether to pay your rent or your childcare or to put food on the table. And so many people, as I've been meeting with the food share and food banks across our district, there's an increase in need, right? Food prices are going up, they're not going down. Everything is getting more expensive. And the Emergency Food Assistance Program, which goes through the state, which helps fund programs just like this, would have been on the freeze chopping block. You would not have been able to access funds to get food out to the community. So it is one area where I am really afraid. Our early Head Start programs is another one. I met with 988 Lines for Life just this past week. Their system would have been shut down, and for folks who don't know, Lines for Life is a service where people who are in trauma or who have suicidal ideation make a phone call, just 988. We have a youth line as well. That could have been shut down. We are talking lives could be lost here. And so we, in my office, again, going back to let's communicate, let's understand what is going on, let's understand the facts. We have set up basically a portal where you can share stories of real life examples of whether it's the food bank, whether it's childcare services, what are you seeing that's being disrupted right now? If you go to salinas.house.gov, there's a portal. We can accept examples statewide.
And I think you said you were with Marion Polk Food Share, is that right? Yes, and so that was in the spending bill that hasn't been passed yet. So what we are trying to do is replace the continuing resolution with the fiscal year 25 spending bills because we have about 100 projects that we've gotten into those bills for things all over the state where the community has said, here is a top priority, and then we've said, great, we'll fight for it. So it's not the only one for the county. There are 5 others that we have, at least 5 other community-initiated projects, and we hope we can get those bills done. They came out of the Senate in a bipartisan fashion with the Ds and Rs working together and building those. That was months and months and months ago, but we don't know or if they'll get passed. If they don't get passed, we're going to try to take those projects and get them in, save them and put in the FY26 bill as well. So those are a little details about the budgeting mess that has real impacts for community after community. Did we have 286?
Gosh, I never get my number called, and there's not even cash involved. I did hear on social media today that 50 marches, 50 states, February 5th. I'm asking the question, does anybody know about that? Is there somebody here that's organizing it? Okay, because we keep getting told that we're not responding, we're not reacting.
Sorry. I reacted to that post on Blue Sky, and I am going to meet anybody who's interested in saving our democracy to meet me in front of the Capitol building by that bas-relief that has the oxen and the pioneers, and we're going to do a little walk around. I would like people to, if they can, make signs with your favorite amendment of the Constitution. Let's not do trash talk signs. Let's do our Constitution signs. And I'll see you there on Wednesday at 11 o'clock. See you then.
That's February 5th.
Thank you very much. And this really is the point. If Americans turn out, show up, speak out, act up, then we will be able to save our country. But it takes that sort of organizing. Thank you. So new numbers 273, 454, and 367. 273, 454, 367. Okay, right here with the gray hair. Thank you. Well, with the beautiful gray hair. Beautiful hair. Sorry.
Thank you much, Senator Merkley and Congresswoman Salinas, for everything that you're doing. I know you're standing strong in Washington, and we so appreciate your presence there. So I'm wondering, normally I would ask a question about the environment, about climate change, but everything is at stake here with what's going on. So do you see any possibility of any movement by Republicans where you might be able to start impeachment proceedings and removal from office?
Impeachment starts in the House of Representatives. Let me pass this over.
I know everything feels like it is topsy-turvy right now, right? And everything feels like it is just upside down and in total chaos. And that, I believe, is the point, right? He is pushing. He wants to see what the limits of the Supreme Court are right now, and he knows this. He knows that everything is going to be litigated. I will say, I was just perusing a bunch of different papers from around the country before this town hall because I wanted to see what are some of my Republican colleagues saying. And there are so very few. So Don Bacon from Nebraska is actually one of my colleagues who I serve with on the Ag Committee. We've actually signed on to bills together. I know he really cares about mental health issues. He also cares about animal rights issues. And so I've been working with him a little bit. And he's starting to question, right? I also saw Senator Rand Paul is starting to question some of this, the constitutionality of some of these things. 2 people, though, is not enough, right? One in the House. And so my goal, just like it always is to work with those people who I know behind the scenes are saying, this ain't right. What are we going to do about this? So I will continue to work with them, but I think it is going to take the president of the American Farm Bureau to say, like, I'm not so sure about these immigration policies. I'm not so sure about these tariffs. I don't know what's going on here, right? Even though he supports Trump. But it's going to take those kind of people to really question the Republicans and this administration right now. But one Don Bacon is not enough, but I will continue to work across the aisle to find out who else is thinking rationally right now.
I didn't catch your number, I'm sorry. Thank you. So we have 273 and 454.
It's on and ready to go. Okay.
Hi, my name is Elise Abel. First, I want to say thank you so much to our senators and our representatives, because we are really lucky to be living in this state right now. And thank you so much for having the town halls. The other thing I want to say is, where is the media blitz? Where are the Democrats at microphones every single day, or throwing sand in the gears? We need them to throw sand in the gears every day. John Lewis did a sit-in in the middle of the House floor. You know, we will all stand up, but we need our leaders to visibly and loudly stand up first. And so I want to know what the plan is for that.
Thank you, Elise. And I'm hearing you loud and clear. I have been trying to make sure I get out, at least on social media. So they came at us this week, and on Monday, I think Senator Merkley was not back. We did not actually take the same flight. I think we'll take the same flight tomorrow. But I was back here last Friday evening, and then so we started this week on Monday where they really started these attacks, right? We had all of last week where we had awful bills on the floor, that they were trying to, these bills on immigration, the Lake and Riley bill, and Senator Merkley and I were furiously trying to figure out some amendments that he could potentially make the bill better when he got to the Senate. But then this week, we were back home. And so I do think that caught us off guard. But I will say, we are talking about exactly what you were mentioning, Elise, collectively as at least House Democratic members speaking out on this. We are not blind to these illegal actions by the Trump administration. We know that they are unconstitutional, and we know that people of all stripes, it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat or independent or non-affiliated, we are rules of law here in the United States, and we must adhere to the rule of law if we are going to continue to be a democratic republic. And so we are having those conversations about speaking out collectively, and I hope that we will do something visible next week on the steps of the Capitol.
When the last of that was that 273 or 454? Okay, 454, great. So team, right in the back, waving her hand.
That's okay, thank you. Hi, 454, I'm Mary Ganane. I'm a volunteer with Salem for Refugees in the literacy program. Thank you. Yeah, that's great to hear. I'm standing with some other volunteers, and I see one of the employees, formerly one of our new neighbors here. Salem for Refugees took care of 324 new neighbors in 2024. "23 arrived in 2025, this year, and it's supporting them that is definitely the rug has been pulled out with the freeze on the whole refugee resettlement program. Deep concern about that, about deportations, about protected status being taken away. This is not the America that I believe in, and I'm not so sure I have a question because I hear all that you're doing, but if you know some information that would help the Salem for Refugees continue with their work, that would be appreciated. And I do appreciate all the support in this room. Thank you.
So one of the executive orders shut down the refugee program just very suddenly, and one of the things that my team has been working on is 3 Afghan families whose fathers were killed in that helicopter crash. One family we got here, the other 2 families we've been trying to get here, and essentially it's just been shut down immediately by the executive order on the refugees. But if I can, listen, I'm looking around the room here, most of us, almost all of us, we're either immigrants or we're children and descendants of immigrants. Immigrants bring strength. Immigrants bring talents. And I just want to be very clear that when you hear immigrants are rapists and murderers, the crime rate among immigrants is lower than the crime rate among those of us born here. So that's a lie that should not be allowed to stand. I am very worried about our 120,000 Oregonians who are undocumented. And there's a bunch of things that have just happened. One is that ICE is trying to get the database about where all the children are from Office of Refugee Resettlement. That's extremely scary. The Biden rules about ICE not being in sensitive locations was removed by executive action. That is very scary. That means ICE can be in the community rooms of the places of worship. It means they can be in the lobby of the hospital, the lobby of the school, so on and so forth. So that's scary. Also scary is Laken-Riley bill, which we opposed, which says a child who's accused of something like shoplifting but never charged, not convicted, must have mandatory imprisonment with no mechanism for release. These are really un-American, scary things combined with the intentions of the president. And so that's why public outcry and response inside the Capitol and outside the Capitol together is going to be so important.
I don't have anything to add. I think, Senator Merkley touched on it. All right, next numbers. We have 172, 337, 338, and just for fun, 229 will be the 4th one. So on deck. So 172.
Hi, my name is Patricia Gutierrez. I want to be really clear here. I'm a U.S. citizen, born and raised in San Francisco. My mother was born and raised in McFarland, California. Her mother, Dodge City, Kansas. Her mother, Native American. We're all Americans. My concern is that this week I work as a healthcare interpreter for a nonprofit. This week, the parents of children coming in for care, these parents, Hispanic, not sure of their immigration status, and it should not matter, were telling the provider, you know what, we're afraid to bring our children for care. I don't know if we'll be coming back again. I provide interpreting for folks regardless of their immigration status. It should not matter. My concern is, what if ICE comes into the lobby of the place where I work? Then what? Any guidance there? What happens if the parents of children, particularly medically fragile children, are deported? Then what? Any guidance there? And I know that we're getting caught up in the chaos, but really, any guidance that's clear, please.
Thank you. First, there are a number of at least Latino groups that are definitely mobilizing to understand their rights. I believe it is, if it has not been posted, it will be posted by Monday, Know Your Rights from the federal level. And then we will be linking, so for these cases, people should know what their rights are. Oregon and Illinois, though, are two states, the only two states in the union that actually have laws on the books that prevent local law enforcement from aiding and assisting ICE. So the Attorney General has put up Know Your Rights on his website as well. He has also brought together a cabinet with people who are in the same position as some of your clients who are afraid, as well as different activist organizations to better understand what they can do. And then he too has come out with a lawsuit with other Democratic AGs. But for right now, I would say let people know what their rights are, direct them to Know Your Rights, what papers they should have on them, not to say anything, all of those types of things, to let people know that they, and whether or not they should continue to receive care or, it's a scary time. So I cannot tell people, don't leave your home, do leave your home. That's that is a really difficult choice. And I'm hearing the same thing from our constituents, and it is heartbreaking. It is absolutely heartbreaking. We know that right now, kids are not going to school. People are afraid to go get groceries. They're afraid to order groceries. They're afraid to get the health care that they need. This is inhumane.
(337-338).
Yep, we have one over here.
Again, your number, then your name, please.
338, my name's Lisa. I just moved here from Idaho, and I have a more localized question. I was wondering what the plans are as far as the fentanyl crisis in the state of Oregon, and if our representative or Senator Merkley plans on doing anything about the homelessness in Salem, in Portland, and all around Oregon, because it's shocking to see having come here from Idaho.
You've come to paradise. Welcome to Oregon. So housing is a very big deal. It was when I was an advocate for affordable housing that I was lobbying the Portland City Council and found out that they really weren't very interested in the challenge of housing, and made me think maybe I should run for office. So this is near and dear to my heart. What I know from my work at Habitat for Humanity is that when a family has a decent home, the kids do better, the parents do better, everything works better when you have a safe place and a roof over your head. And what we really have done is underinvested across the nation in housing. And in addition, we are facing challenges that are involved, like we have to do a lot more on mental health, and we have to do a lot more on addiction issues, which are related, and we have to do a lot more to have a fair economy so people have a job that can pay the rent. But if I can add one more piece to that, let's get the hedge funds out of the single-family housing business. Back in 2009, when I was elected to the Senate and we had the massive number of foreclosures with Fannie and Freddie, homes were being sold in groups of 1,000, and I went to President Obama and I went to the Treasury Secretary and I said, make them available to families. They're being sold for 50 cents on the dollar. Give families a chance to regain home ownership. And they didn't. They said it's too complex, it's too difficult, there's too many, so on and so forth. And the hedge funds got a taste of how the combination of good rewarding tax policies, because you can depreciate homes, you can write off the interest as an expense, in combination with rent, in combination with equity growth. They said, wow, look, this is a pretty sweet thing for us to be involved in. And they just started buying up more and more and more houses. By the end of this decade, they'll own half the rental houses in the United States of America. And you turn the clock back a few years, and there wasn't a single hedge fund that owned over several hundred houses. They drive up the price. If you've tried to buy a home, you're competing against an all-cash offer. They drive up the rents, and they are taking the slice of the American pie that created wealth for middle-class Americans, the biggest source of wealth for middle-class Americans. They're taking it off the plate of the middle class, and they're putting on the plate of the mega millionaires and billionaires. So I say let's kick them out of single-family housing.
Couldn't agree more with the senator on that one. I'll just add very quickly, Salem has actually done a really good job of increasing units of housing. Over the last, yes, give it up for Salem City Council. Over 500 units over the last 2 years, which has been really impressive. So thank you, Mayor Hoy, for the efforts there. And I've actually looked at a lot of the developments and been to a lot of the grand openings. I will also say that we do need to address the addiction crisis as well as the mental health crisis. And so we need additional units for that as well. And I've been to lots of different treatment facilities and residential care facilities. We need more units. We need to be able to move people, yes. And we have a law, though, right now that limits a lot of these buildings to only 16 beds. And so investors, first of all, getting any new land to develop an entirely new building for this kind of treatment is very, very expensive, and investors don't really have any incentive to do that. But they would have incentive to add on to these buildings that are now limited. So I do have a bill that is looking at adding 16 more beds. They aren't big institutions, but 32 beds, right? Just some common sense solutions so that we can really start to address the issue that you're talking about. We will also be taking up a bill, actually this week. It's called Halt the Fentanyl Act, and it essentially will be putting some additional penalties on those who peddle in fentanyl. We know that, yes, we know that here in Oregon, we have about 4 deaths per day from opioids and hard drugs. That's too many here in Oregon. We do need to do something about this. We need to look at the precursor elements that come from China to make these deadly drugs as well, and I've been on bills on that too.
Hi, number 337. My name is Emily Applegate. You've heard from a lot of us here, a lot of vulnerable people, a lot of people who are scared. I appreciate everything you have done for us here at home in Oregon. I would just like to remind you that you are one of about 500 people, 2 of about 500 people whose voices they can hear. We can talk to you in this setting. Thank you so much. They cannot hear us unless you speak loudly. All I'd like to ask is that you don't stop speaking loudly for us and for the rest of the country and those who cannot scream loudly. Thank you.
Amen. We need that combination of fierce, loud voices inside and all of you outside pushing, and together we'll make a difference. 229, did we have that one?
I want to thank you for being here and distracted by how to do this. I thank you for all the things that you've said. You've answered my question, which was, what are you doing? I don't see you. I don't see you out there helping us do what we need to do. And I hear, it sounds pretty much like you're all as gobsmacked as we are. So I'm waiting for you to get back and be performing for us and giving us that hand up. I live in public housing. What in the hell is going to happen? What do people think when they vote for Trump that is going to happen when he says and does what he says he's going to do? I don't understand it. It's hard. Thank you.
I feel like what's happening right now is the great betrayal, because Trump said he's going to be there for families, but his 3-point plan is instead embedded in Project 2025. Slash and gut the programs for families, borrow a lot of money from the Treasury, and deliver massive tax giveaways to the richest Americans. Anybody here really need massive tax giveaways for the richest Americans? Think that's going to make America great? I think what makes America great is the foundations of healthcare, housing, education, and a good paying job that gives a family a chance to thrive and move into the middle class. That's what I think makes it great.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all of you for being here. And yes, we are those voices, and we will continue to hammer. My hope, I'm in leadership now. I'm on our whip team. I'm also in the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. I'm in leadership there. I am trying to move wherever I can to get Democrats to actually speak with one voice. It's hard, as you all probably know. We can see a mug sitting there, and it might be a blue mug, and one person would say it's a blue mug. Somebody would say, oh no, it's a mug with coffee in it. Somebody else would say, oh, it's a mug half empty. So we couldn't just call it the blue mug, right? That's too easy. So I am truly working at every level where I have a little bit of influence as a second-term member of Congress in the House and the minority. Like I said, whether it's reaching across the aisle to my Republican colleagues or whether it's trying to influence my leadership to make sure that we hold this president accountable.
The second term already in leadership. That's the talent right there. Numbers 328, 176, and 246.
176. My name is Grant. I am a state worker, and I was curious about the federal civil service. Every month, our program at the agency where I work at has a meeting, has like a staff meeting, and usually our contact at the EPA is at that meeting. This month, that staff member from the EPA was noticeably absent, so I was just curious what y'all are doing to protect the civil servants and let them be able to do their jobs, and what we can do as citizens to support them. Thank you.
It's just such a horrific curse. Fentanyl results in so many overdoses and is just so much more toxic than any other opioid. As Andrea mentioned, we're really pushing to keep it out of the U.S. and to keep the precursors out. China did quit mailing it to the U.S., but they send precursors to Mexico that then are then assembled into fentanyl. You think about the tip of a pencil and just one little speck, that's enough to kill you. So it's very easy to smuggle it. We need a lot of cooperation with Mexican authorities to stop it. And we need a lot of education. The Beaverton School District started a program called Fake is Fatal and One Pill Can Kill to educate all their students that if you buy something through social media or you buy it on the street, but now through social media is a common distribution strategy, just one pill can kill you. You may think you're buying something to give you greater focus in class, and yet it's contaminated, and that's the end of your life. So we need to tackle this through every possible way. Stop it from being made, stop it from being smuggled, stop it from being distributed, educate folks about the risk, provide naloxone for when there are overdoses, and just any other strategy that can possibly be effective.
I will just say to this point, kind of taking a step back, I'm really concerned about the nominee for HHS. As former chair of the House Healthcare Committee, as somebody I'm co-chair of the Mental Health Caucus on the House side, I am really worried about all of these issues. I know President Trump is not putting forward our best and our brightest when it comes to healthcare right now. And so we are, and honestly, to Senator Merkley's first point, our federal workers are the experts. They are the career folks who have been working on these issues day in and day out, and they know how to deal with these programs. So we do, and As a former, I used to work for the National Treasury Employees Union. I think that's why the IRS issue came up for me, which is, tax season could really be horrendous. But we do need to make sure that our federal workers and our state workers have the tools that they need, but that they have the right leadership in place as well. And we're not seeing that right now.
The plan to have tens of thousands of nonpartisan professionals replaced by tens of thousands of lackeys with no expertise is horrific. I don't want lackeys in the control tower. I don't want them running the computer programming for our payments. Let's stand by the idea that professionals matter when delivering all of the programs we depend on. And if you have one administration that converts everything to a political position, then we have the next administration that maybe does the same thing in a different direction, and we just have chaos and very poor delivery. So for everyone who's a government worker, can you just raise your hands for a minute, and can we say you're often abused? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're down to the last point, last question or point, and we had 328, and there it is.
Thank you, Senator Merkley and Congresswoman Salinas. I told Senator Merkley yesterday, I'm Ruth Ann Couch, by the way. I'm a member of the National Active and Retired Federal Employees Association. So we are fighting a lot of these budget proposals. But I want to thank you, Congresswoman Salinas, for helping Senator Merkley get the Social Security Fairness Act passed, which was a big deal. Took us 40 years, but we got it done. But now we have a myriad of, threats against the federal workers. And some of them are, just unbelievable. They are talking about, and this comes out of the Republican Study Committee and also President Trump's office. There's a list, a very long list of the things they want to do, and they want to attach it to the reconciliation bills. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. But as a retired air traffic controller, I was forced to retire at age 56. We have a mandatory retirement age. And they're talking about taking the first supplement away. So we would have controllers, or actually police and the firefighters, all the safety people, FBI, I think also falls under that. They are required to retire early, but they would not be able to collect their Social Security until 62, and so there would be no bridge in there for them. So I'm hoping you can do something about that. Thanks.
Thank you, and thank you for representing our retired federal employees. I was actually talking to, at Jimmy Carter's funeral, Congressman Estes, who will be the subcommittee chairman of the Social Security Committee for Ways and Means recently, and I was asking him, what do you see us working on? I actually would hope to one day serve on Ways and Means. Many Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security are big issues for me. And I asked him, what do you think we'll be seeing? He said, well, we're going to have to figure out how we, address the solvency issue. And I thanked him. I said, thank you so much. I know the, windfall elimination program and government pension offset has been such a big deal to so many employees who have worked in public service and want their Social Security benefits. Anyway, he said, yeah, but he was like, moving forward, I think we're going to really have to figure out how to pay for this. And I said, so what are you thinking? I said, and I just mentioned one thing that I thought maybe he was thinking about. I said, so are we talking like privatization? And he said, yeah, that could be in the mix. Yeah. So those are going to be the kinds of proposals that they are going to, again, and that'll be off the backs of workers, right? Because we're not all crypto investors, right? We don't expect the stock market to continue to ride this high for the rest of our lives, and putting Social Security funds into private investment is a scary proposition. So we're going to have to continue to, as we think about some of the holes and the bridges that we need for people who are retiring, figure out how we are going to make Social Security solvent.
So we've covered quite a few issues, and so many more exist. So please continue to write your letters, attend town halls, call up our teams. We have Gustavo on my team somewhere, my point of contact for this county. And so he's on my website. You can look him up. He can put you in contact. Would you like to introduce someone from your team?
Yes, Brandon Jordan and Fritz Graham over here too for my team covering Marion County.
And I want to pause here and say that issues we're dealing with are very stressful. There's a lot of frustration, a lot of cynicism, and we're going to have to work really hard as citizens collectively in our democracy to rectify them. But we also need to take breaks and restore our souls in the middle of all this. So I'm going to end on a little bit happier note. Because I go to every county every year to hold a town hall, I hear about all these cool things that I think, oh, it'd be really fun to share all those. So last year, I put together with my team this Oregon Treasures Quest book. You maybe saw them on the way in, they're on the way out. If you page through here, you'll go, oh, I didn't know about that. Wow, look at that Fort Rock in Lake County, and let's look at that spit and event site in the middle of the Columbia River and Hood River, and so on and so forth. So when you're totally had it, take a weekend, hit the road, because we live the most incredible paradise to be found. And welcome to our friends from Idaho for moving here. And if you go to 10 counties and do selfies with yourself at something that's in this book, you're invited to a party in November. We had our first one last year. So hit the road, enjoy Oregon, and come to a party in November. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our mayor, who has some final announcements. Thank you, and God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to say thank you to Parish Middle School for hosting us here. To all of those in the background who helped to facilitate this meeting, thank you so much. We know it's a big deal to pull off an event like this. Thank you for being here tonight. It's a beautiful thing when we can gather together peacefully to discuss the issues which face us here in Oregon in very real ways. A great testament of Oregonians and Salem, the city of peace. Good night and travel safely home.